Hi, I'm George McNamara. We're here with Channel 2. Mr. O'Connor, he's been nice enough to come down and video a presentation from myself, the Director of Public Works in Littleton, and Brody Toot, the Chairman of the new highway garage. What we want to do is we want to take this opportunity to show everybody out there on Channel 2 and their friends the insides and the nuts and bolts of the garage here in Littleton. And at the same time, I want to try to explain some of the features that we've looked at here that we want to incorporate in the new garage, but we also want to change in the new garage so it better meets the needs 20, 30, 40 years down the road. Because once they get this new building, it's going to have to be for the future. Not necessarily for today, but for the future. This building's 57 years old. And once we start walking around here and looking, it's going to become very apparent to a lot of people that it doesn't meet the needs of the highway department or the town 57 years later. We have a list here. You're going to see us keep looking down at it. It's going to be try to keep us on track and so that we can cover a lot of topics. The first topic I wrote down is life safety. The life safety topic is for the workers that were here. We recently had an inspection town-wide of all the town's buildings from the Department of Labor in the state of New Hampshire. The lady walked into this facility, she took one look around, and she asked us, is this the one that's going to be coming up on the town warrant? And I said, yes, it is. She said, with that being said, I'm going to make this quick because if it fails, I'm going to come back and I'm going to be here for a long time on that day. Life safety items. Some of the things we're looking to improve in the new building will be air quality, the means of egress, building structure code requirements, meaning structural load, and all the code requirements that go with a new building, not just the structural load. Fire rating of rooms that store hazardous materials. It's going to be a fully sprinkled building, and this building has areas of asbestos. Is it a danger to the health right now the way they are? No. But if you get into those areas, you disturb them, then yes, it does become. If the asbestos becomes airborne, it becomes a hazard. The areas of asbestos are in a couple of the chimneys, the insulation that go out, the roof, the plywood type sheathing you see on the ceilings in the administrative areas, and in the caulking around the windows and around the plywood. Right now it's no hazard, but it could be someday. We want to take care of that. Air quality. Air quality right now, it's pretty tough. We have a shop here. We try to keep clean, but as you can see, if you look at this floor, it's unbelievably porous. Everything's wet now because the guys have been out plowing. We've had a period of 3 days of straight snow, but it's porous. The only way to get all the dirt up off this floor, it can't be achieved with a broom. It has to be done with a shop vac. We could go through many shop vacs burning them up, doing the building this size, and it's extremely labor intensive. A new building, however, with a smooth slab can be broomed in a matter of a half hour probably. Get the dust up, get it out of the air. It helps the employees, keeps the dust out of their lungs, and it also keeps the dust out of the equipment, which is a big maintenance issue we have with filters. This exhaust fan that goes down through the center is the only exhaust we currently have. We are planning on reusing that exhaust fan. That's another savings, hopefully, to the town. This past year, going back to life safety, this past summer, excuse me, we spent $1,600 and we had an automatic switch hooked up to a carbon monoxide detector that would automatically turn this fan on if the levels became hazardous in the building. Last winter, our Home Depot carbon monoxide detector went off twice. Fire department came over, they tested the building, it was at extremely high levels. This hasn't gone off yet, although we do test it periodically. It's just another life safety thing we will have in the new building as well. That same detector and that same relay system will be used. One of the other items we have is a means of egress. As it is right now, if there ever is an emergency in this shop, we have an escape there and an escape there. 85 feet down, there is no escape. There is no means of egress out of the building. The administrative areas, the break room, the locker room, and the office area have one way out and one way only. By code, you're required to have 2 means of egress out of a building. That's something that will be corrected when we look at a plan we have here to show everybody a little later on. Fire-rated storage rooms. That's been around a long time. We don't have it here. The new building has 1 hour and 2 hour fire-rated storage rooms. Structure, codes, and ratings. I talked about that briefly. The current building is roof capacity is 25% of the now up-to-date 2009 code. So put that in perspective. If you're supposed to be able to put 100 pounds on your roof in 1 square foot, this building is only designed for 25 pounds. The building being 57 years old, I don't even think it's up to 25 pounds when we start to show you some of the deterioration in the structure.
George, why won't the roof collapse right now then? If it's only 25 feet.
Well, that's a good point. This building was designed to have a hot roof, to not create a snow load. It was like, once again, back 57 years ago, oil was cheap. The cheapest thing to do was to put a light-duty building up, keep the snow melted off it. Everything is fine. Times have changed. You know, we'll cover this when we get down to energy efficiency and things like that. A lot of the other code things, what I talked about was the egress, mezzanine, fall protection. The current garage here, we have 2x4s, 3 feet on center with chicken wire and plastic. The new garage will have an open area with a handrail that meets code. That will allow better access to the mezzanine. The current access to the mezzanine is up a stairway through a roof hatch that goes through the break room. What else do we have here?
You want to touch on energy efficiency for a moment?
Yeah, I think we're up to energy efficiency. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, Brody?
As you can see behind us, the lighting in the current facility is pretty dim. One thing we do want to address, they did add some additional lighting throughout the years, but the working area is quite dim. A few things that are going to bring that up to a much easier working environment. First is LED lighting on motion sensors. It is highly efficient. Number of questions have been raised with why LED lighting, but along with all the codes, there is an energy code, and we need to follow a certain energy code, so we've decided to go forward with LED lighting. Additionally with that, we'll have solar passive doors. The doors work essentially as sunlight will come in, it'll light the building, but it'll also during the day, with the southern facing exposure, the sun will heat the building as well. It'll supplement the existing heat. We will continue to use the pellet boiler as the main source of heat with a propane backup system in case there was a failure with the pellet boiler. Furthermore, the wall panels are at an R24 rating and the ceiling is at an R30. Currently with a hot roof, we're assuming that there is no R factor whatsoever. So a lot of that heat will stay in the building, be much more efficient, use less fuel. And lastly, along with energy efficient, the backboarding of all the metal we chose to use is going to be white. So it's going to reflect a lot of the light, it's going to be easier to clean, and also it's going to reduce the amount of lighting that we need. Okay, moving on to...
I'm going to touch on the code requirements again. I had a special section on that. Another code requirement is handicap accessibility. Now, handicap accessibility doesn't necessarily mean just for a person in a wheelchair. It's for people that possibly have a vision impairment, people that have a walking impairment. There's a lot of things that come to do with that. It comes with clearances. It comes with pitches and grades of transition in and out of buildings. The new building is 100% handicap accessible. This current building doesn't even have a handicap door that meets the proper width for access in, unless we come through the back, and then there's a 4-inch step to come in. Lit exit signs. This building has plastic exit signs. If we could, we'll go around and show you some of them a little later. You buy them at Home Depot, they say exit on them. They're not lit in a case of emergency. There's no lit means of egress. Hazardous fluid containment area. The new garage will have a specific area with an access to the outside that has a concrete curbed containment area. So if we have a spill of oil, a spill of antifreeze, a spill of hydraulic fluid, it will be contained in that area. Currently, we don't have that. emergency eye wash and shower. Right now, we have a portable emergency eye wash. It's the type you buy through a magazine. You put your head down, you tip it, it flushes your eyes. It's really not what you need in a shop like this. In a shop like this, you have something that's plumbed directly to your system. It has a pull chain, and someone can get doused with water if they should be contaminated with a fluid. The eye wash is in the same setup. It's the way it should be. It protects the workers. And by protecting the workers, we protect the taxpayers in the long run. And another thing is a unisex bathroom. Currently, there are no private facilities if there was to be a woman working here. Everything here is geared towards a man's environment. We know nowadays it's a changing world. You know, it needs to be made so a woman could feel welcome coming to work here. Garage and community improvements. You want to start on that, Brody?
Sure. So additionally, we took some considerations from almost a year and a half of data, and this we really want to make as the community building, so we can use it as a service department for police and fire. There's going to be a new meeting room, so we can have other town-related functions and meetings held right inside. It's going to be a larger building than we currently have with handicap accessibility, so there's a possibility of voter turnout. A few other things we're talking about in the future. Drive-through bays. It's an additional thing we've considered. Right now, as you can see behind me, all the trucks are backed in. There's about 5 or 6 trucks in bays. Currently, there's 6 bays of equipment with only 4 doors. So when the trucks back in, they need to snake into their designated area. The new building will have additional doors, but there'll also be entrances and exits on either end. They can drive in, park their vehicle, and simply drive out, reducing backing. And backing is always a topic for injuries and causes of motor vehicle crashes.
It also is a time, you know, there's no denying it. People back into the equipment, people back into the side of the garage. It happens. You know, as much time and effort as you spend backing someone up, you still have issues like that. Another item we talked about a little bit is the smooth slab. Having a smooth slab, and another item that goes along with the smooth slab in the same text is we're looking at putting a radiant floor heating in this building. When you have that smooth slab with radiant heat, you're not going to have this water and this moisture. This water and moisture that we see on the slab right now will last all winter. It really never evaporates. It's terrible for the condition of the building. It's terrible for the equipment in here. Everything's sitting in a damp environment. With the radiant heat, you'll have a dry slab. I recently, earlier this fall, visited 2 other garages in the state of New Hampshire. And it just so happened we kind of took the prototype for the new design from Sanbornton and Hopkinton. It opened up a new light when I went into the Hopkinton garage. I walked through the doors and it's like, wow, you can see in there. It's very well lit. And the thing that interests me the most was the Parks and Recreation was off to the right. They were working on a mowing tractor. The fire department was in there. A couple of firefighters were in there. They were working on an ambulance. And the public works guys were at the far end. They were getting their equipment ready. There was a storm predicted that night that we never had, thank God. And I saw all these entities of that town in that garage. Now, after a year and a half of talking to people after the vote failed last year, that was a topic that came up more than once. So we visited the parks, we visited the cemetery crew, we visited the fire station, the police station, and we said, hey, you know, this is a town's building. It's not just the highway garage. This building is for everybody. You know, would you be interested in coming in, you know, and working on your equipment, maybe possibly storing your equipment? And everybody's like, well, yeah, you know, that sounds good. We think it would work, but, you know, the problem is, who wants to come work in this crowded, wet, filthy building we have? In Hopkinton, that's what opened my eyes. I saw all the different departments of the town in that building working, and I said, wow, it would work. So I think if we build this building, and we build it big enough, we build it correctly, and we build it with enough modern technology that it serves the people 30, 40 years down the road. You're going to see the town building one garage and one garage only, and that will be right here for all the departments to use. Okay, these are the current doors we have. These are about 1.5 inches thick insulated fiberglass door here at the highway garage, which has these windows for light. One of the things we're looking forward to having in the new garage will be the solar passive doors. I visited Sanbornton, they have these doors. They're glass from here to 2 feet from the top. All the light comes through. The other advantage is they're solar passive, and they create heat in the garage. Talking with the gentleman down there, they said in the middle of the winter, from about 10 to 2, they never hear their heater run. The energy increased on the sunny days with the solar doors is enough to heat that garage. I asked them, I said, well, what's the deal with the summertime? Is it going to make our garage so hot we can't stand it? That was my ignorance. What happens is those doors only generate heat when the sun's angle is low, as it is in the wintertime. In the summer, as the sun's angle increases, the way the glass, it's like an oblique glass, is structured, it doesn't create heat. Very interesting. I think it's a great idea. Another thing I want to point out on these doors, we recently did a little maintenance on them. We had to move our hinge points. They're rotten. Can they be replaced? Of course they can be replaced. But, you know, what's the sense of replacing a garage door if there's a possibility of getting a new garage? It's back to the moisture. The moisture is what creates this rot, sitting in this wet environment.
If you want to point out the...
Oh, yes, this is one of the bases, column base. There's a structural report about the building and the deficiencies and the rot, which has decreased the strength of the building. Once again, our goal is not to hold the town hostage. We're not trying to say this is the worst place in the world and this whole building is going to topple down. What we're trying to do this year, though, is point these things out for people that don't have an opportunity to come to the garage and actually see them for yourselves and let you make your own minds up. Other items in this area, you know, right here, it's wet. You know, the water runs down the inside of the building due to condensation. One item I would like to point out, if Mr. O'Connor can get the camera tilted up high enough to look at the ceiling, we have a heating modine. That's relatively new heating modine that comes off the new pellet boiler that was installed a year ago. That modine, along with a couple of the others, are going to be reused in the new building. This is our current vehicle lift. This is our current vehicle lift. It's a 2-post lift. Has the swing arms. It's typical passenger car automotive lift. We have one vehicle it can actually work on. It was purchased or acquired, if you will, to work on a lot of the police cars, which is great. The police department gets a lot of their maintenance done here with this lift. The town has a 3/4 ton pickup truck that we can put on it as well. But the capacity of these 550s, these 1.5 ton pickup trucks, you see them in town doing the plowing and salting, it will not pick them. Mr. O'Connor took a snapshot of a 4-post lift on this paper, 30,000 pound capacity. We're looking to incorporate that hopefully in the next 2 years into the highway department's budget. That lift, as you'll see from the photo, will pick a fire truck. It will pick a heavy plow truck. It will pick any equipment we have here. You drive up on it, it has rolling jacks, similar to some of the ones you may have seen in an automotive garage. It's the type of lift, it's much safer, and it's the way a lot of these companies are going to now. Hopkinton had one, that's right.
This is the current break room, and then the stairs lead up to a hatch. The new building will obviously have a fully functional stairway leading up to a mezzanine, and on top of the mezzanine as well, there's going to be a plan room. So all the plans of all the town-owned buildings and all that data is going to be in a one location, dry, safe location. So if we need to access any plans, it'll be immediately available.
This room is approximately the same size the new room is going to be. But one of the things that's not very appealing about this room, just given its vintage, is being a function meeting room for the town. With all the committees and all the groups the town has, they're always looking for a place to convene. You know, a new modern room, well lit, with data ports and stuff like that. I think it would be a nice add for the town as a multifunction room. Okay, what we have here is the new building plan. And we got this, it's a little bit hard to see at times, but it helps put things in perspective. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bays, 4 of which are drive-through, as you can see. In the last 2 bays, we don't have a drive-through because we need the wall space for mechanics benches. This bay is a lift bay. This bay right here is a mechanics work bay that opens up into the new storage room. The new storage room is big. It's twice as big as our current storage room. One of the issues we have is storing materials. We can't keep a lot of stock if we don't have a place to put it. The storage room has an overhead door, small garage door, access for delivery of hazardous fluids and the fuel oil. We won't have fuel oil in the new one, my bad. But it has a containment curb. This little concrete curb, the amount of material in these barrels will be stored in here if there ever should be an accident. It's well lit, and this whole area here is below the mezzanine. The mezzanine is a second story. It's going to be about 10 feet above the elevation of this slab. Other things under the mezzanine, that's the new break room / meeting room. It has a door that comes out. You can exit to the exterior of the building, or you can go into the shop, or you can go over to the locker rooms or the administrative office. Across the hall, there's a small unisex bathroom with a shower and a couple lockers under the stairs. On the other side of the hall is a locker room where the uniforms can be stored, with restrooms and lockers, obviously, to keep their clothes they need to do their projects. In here, there's an administrative office with an exit into the shop and an exit in this hallway and another exit out of the building. The main entrance to the facility will be right here on the right, similar to what we have now, except all day long when the workers are going back and forth through this door, they'll be coming into the edge of the shop, which will make it better for the administrative area. As it is now, they come in a hallway that basically comes into the office, and then they go through another door that puts them in the shop. When guests come, visitors come, there's a glass window here with glass windows in the door. There will be safety tape on the floor advising people not to proceed into the shop, into the work environment of the shop. Other items, the stairway that goes up to the mezzanine is no longer in the break room going through a roof hatch. It's a stairway that goes up, enters the mezzanine. The whole mezzanine will be open in the front. You'll have a handrail with removable sections so you can put large items up there for storage and actually get them back out easily. It's not going to be one of those mezzanines like we just cleaned out this summer that had a bunch of storage items in there that were big, heavy, and to be honest, a lot of them in there, 30 or 40 years stuff had been up there. We cleaned house. This area of the mezzanine to the left of the stairway going up is what Brody talked about. We want to create a plan room. Currently, we store plans on our mezzanine. Plans are stored at the town office. Plans are stored at the Opera House. And I believe there are also some plans stored at the waste treatment facility. Nobody really knows what we have. There's not much of an inventory. There's not much of an inventory catalog. It's extremely frustrating. You go up, there are rolled drawings everywhere with no labeling. A well-lit room with tables of rolled drawings out and hopefully some flat storage so the drawings remain flat. That would be a big asset to have everything in one place so when someone needs information, it can be acquired. Other items, you can see we have the trucks drawn on here, properly fitting, one truck a bay so you can move in around them, you can work on them. As you saw in some of the other photos, it was congested. The grader during the winter can actually be stored inside. We use the grader periodically throughout the winter to cut the snow off Main Street when we clean the sidewalks. We use it in large storms. It's not the type of machine that does well in a cold environment because it takes a period of time to get it heated up. Then we get it started, and then we try to get the hydraulic fluid moving through it that's ice cold. In a heat environment, it's going to increase the life of that equipment. Once again, This is the work area. This is the office area with a mezzanine above it. This distance right here is 30 feet, and this distance is 80 feet, just to put it in perspective. I talked about the continuous trench drain down the middle. It'll help the slab drain, and it will be a dry slab. We have an exit door out this end. We talked about the second means of egress in the shop. There's an exit door here, here, and here. What did I miss, Brody? What else can we discuss?
Well, a few things have been brought to our attention is bringing all of these rooms above this area so it could reduce the footprint of the current building without adding additional engineering and bringing the roof up in this image. You see here, we've used a very simple design. It's a shed roof. The snow sheds to the rear. All the administration is here. The equipment is parked here. Without raising the roof up and putting the equipment in here, which would be an added expense, decided to have essentially the same layout that we currently have, just a bit bigger to fit not just only today, but the future.
We have one more, whoops, excuse me. We have one more poster here, and it's basically a site plan. And it shows the new location is virtually where the existing building is, except we're going to move it forward a little bit to accommodate the drive-through feature for the trucks in the circulation. There's the pellet boiler. It helps put it in perspective. One of the options we're going to look at that was brought to us in the last year is possibly sliding this building ahead an undetermined distance and keeping some of this existing slab. The person that mentioned it said there's nothing like a nice solid work surface outside. We're going to look at the condition of the slab when the building comes down. We're going to look at how things are, and then we'll make that determination at that time. We have lots of rooms, sand pile, building, police station with the same passageway we have now. Fire station here, we're not going to lose much more than 20 feet in this parking lot. And future salt shed, that's something people are going to hear about in the near future. We're thinking of putting the salt shed in this location rather than its existing location, because we have a loader digging out of the sand pile here. The loader could go into the salt shed here. As it is now, the loader works here, the backhoe works here. I think that's about it.
Additionally, just real quick, right now this existing storage shed that is part of the campus is being heated because there's material inside that has to be heated. That storage will be able to be moved into the new building. That heat will be turned off, so we'll reduce that cost as well.
That's a good point, very good point. And the reason we have that heated is we have a sewer jet, and we have a couple other items. The sewer jet is approximately the same size as one of these F550 trucks you see around town. So we didn't have it on this drawing, we didn't think of it at the time, but that will also fit in this garage.
On behalf of George and myself, I want to thank you for watching this program, kind of reviewing. Probably the biggest thing that we spoke about is the new facility. Obviously, a lot of attention's been brought to this building and what it would cost to rebuild it. Certainly, we did ask that question to some engineers, and due to the snow load factor, to rehab this existing building, they sit around the neighborhood of $1 million. So rehabbing this building, it could be functional. We could add that $1 million. However, we're still going to have the same footprint. We're going to be dealing with a lot of the same problems versus going forward with a new building and correcting a lot of those code issues and moving forward. Our focus of the committee is not to be using scare tactics whatsoever. We simply want to provide the facts, and we certainly appreciate it. The second Wednesday of each month, up until voting, we have meetings at the DPW at 4:30. Any townspeople is more than welcome to attend, and I'm sure on behalf of George, you could answer any questions, or I could as they arise.
Yep, very good. Thank you.